And it has three parts. First will be to get to know Sonia, a little bit about her work. For all the people who are slightly new to her work to completely new, at least this is a chance to get to know her really personally. And the second half of the call would be learning an important practice that Sonia teaches really well. And then towards the end, what we'll do is we're already collecting all the questions we have collected in the past by sending it to you guys. So some of you guys have submitted them, and some of you, if questions pop up, do put them in the chat. Again, Wendy as a host, she's moderating this call, and she's going to organize all these questions so that we can come back to them in the end if time allows, which hopefully would be the case. Cool. All right. So welcome, Sonia. First of all, I'm so honored for you to be able to join this call. And while I was thinking about this, when I spoke with you last week, the thought that came to my mind was, wow, we hang out in Paris all the time. We have a good time. We connected a few months ago. And when you're friends with someone in a personal growth industry, especially in our industry, you forget that how awesome the person really is. We meet for cafes and we have champagne, and you guide us through some weird exercises in your home. Really, really fun stuff. But before actually preparing for this call, I completely forgot how incredible teacher you are. And because now it's just a lovely woman that I meet every week in Paris. But for all the people who are joining here, Sonia is a remarkable teacher. She's written more than 23 books. They have been translated in more than 37 different languages. She has been doing this for over 35 years now. She's been a Mind Valley author. I've seen her live on stage. She's incredibly charming and charismatic and really, really engaging teacher. But most of all, she's one of the most humble, grounded teachers, person that you can interact with. So when I spoke with you, Sonia, and deciding what topic can we bring to LifePlugin audience, and you were so generous to say, hey, you know what, I'll just do a full live call with LifePlugin subscribers, and I'm really, really honored to have you here. So thank you so much for taking out the time to join us.
It's my pleasure. And I think at this point in our planetary ascension, we all need to be as generous and supportive of one another as possible. That is the point of everything to change our consciousness. And each person is capable. It doesn't have to be me or you. Anyone on here is capable of being quite a leader in terms of how they share their heart and their love and their wisdom and their skills and talents. So I'm honored to be part of this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And, I was, for this call, we have a topic already, like how to tune into our intuition and spirit guides so that we can enjoy the ascension, like you call it. Right. But this call the first part is to, somebody's asking a question. So you put all the questions for Sonia in the chat, and then we'll come back to them by the end of it. Yeah. So the first part of this call is to get to know you a bit more and the subject a bit more. And as a preparation of this call, I want to show you the proof. I was answering all of these questions, like what is this? I have my notepad ready with my pens. And I was trying to answer what is intuition to me, and what does it mean, right? And I tried to write different experiences that I can call that was intuitive, and a lot of those experiences are saying a channeling experience, or showing up at the right place at the right time, or making a decision that I wasn't thinking about rationally, but I just made a decision, and that ended up being one of the most incredible days of my life, or the most important, iconic moments for me. And since you are, I think you're the foremost, like there's nobody else when I was researching that comes close to as an authority on this subject as you. And so I wanted to ask you, what is your definition of intuition?
Well, I'd like to start by saying the word itself means inner teacher or inner guide. Tuition means to learn. You have an internal guide that is constantly informing you, teaching you, elevating your awareness, but in a way that is not verbal, not language, but is energetic. And then we interpret that energy through our levels of consciousness. our physical body does have six senses, and intuition is the consciousness of the human heart, which is already scientifically proven to be an intelligent organ. Your heart is the first organ of the body to develop. It informs the body in how to develop, and you detect life in the physical body with the heartbeat. So that is your essence, that is your spirit, that is your life force, which is connected to the divine consciousness of who we are. So each of us is hardwired with this inner guidance system that gives us impulses energetically to work on several areas. The first is what I call the red light intuition: protection, safety, how we get, and a lot of people's first encounter with intuition is this kind of experience. They get a warning, a bad feeling, a caution. So that's the kind of the survival instinct of intuition. The second intuition is what I have, and I simplify things so people can understand it, not get too heady. So I call the second level green light intuition. Green light intuition is the inner guidance that points us to those opportunities, open doors, synchronistic connections, downloads brilliant ideas that allow our soul to express itself at the highest level. These are impulses that transcend the logical mind, but every cell in our body lights up with enthusiasm and receptivity. So those are those feelings like, I got it. And they are actually, every intuition is accompanied by a physical feeling, not a mental thought. It's a physical, organic thing. So even if you think about your own experiences with intuition, if you reflect and you try to language it, your hands will often go right here. I just, and I've taught around the world, so this is a universal reflex. They'll go right here to the heart or heart and gut. But never does people do this. Never will they put their hands on their head and say, I got this great intuition. So it just kind of shows us that we're organically tuned in, even though education has taught us to be suspicious or separate. Then I have what's called yellow light intuition. And that is the intuition that says it's too soon to make a decision. Things haven't evolved enough yet. Give it some time. Be patient, stay receptive. Life is evolving and conditions are not quite yet prepared for movement or choice. Now, in the world of the rational mind, everything is right, wrong, black and white, go or stop. But intuition is more like learning to surf, because life is energy that ebbs and flows, rises and dips. And our intuition is the inner tracker that helps us flow with life and flow toward those experiences, opportunities that allow us to be our best, most creative self. They divert us from experiences, situations, connections, thoughts, attitudes that impede our ability to be our most authentic creative self. And yellow light is where we're kind of in the classroom learning and gathering. So we need also to keep that open space of it's not quite time yet. So that's the simplest way that I can describe intuition. It is your inner compass that keeps you authentic, faithful, and aligned with your soul intentions in this lifetime.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question. You speak so beautifully. I'm just mesmerized for like 2 seconds. So if I take 2 seconds to respond, that's the reason. So But as a follow-up question, when you say the yellow light or the red light intuition, that it's taking us away, like there's impulses of feelings which are often taking us away from to safety or to not make a certain decision. My question is, how do you differentiate whether it's intuition or it's fear or resistance towards going in that direction?
The thing about intuition, and it's really important to pay attention to this, no matter what your intuition is telling you, whether it's a caution, don't do that, that's not good, that's not going to work for you, or it's an encouragement, go there, take the risk, you will always physically feel, and this is important because we are so disconnected from our bodies, you physically feel an opening. Your energy opens, even if it's a caution. If it's fear, if it's intellect, if it's wishful thinking, if it's forceful agenda from the ego, your physical energy contracts. The space in your body becomes dense. Your breath becomes more shallow. You actually literally hold your breath. And there is not that sense of expansion. So that's why I teach that to be connected to your intuition, and why I teach in my live workshops, I make people dance, because they're so disconnected from their bodies that until they're in their body, they won't experience intuition. And I can't lecture you because I'm talking to the wrong channel. I have to create experience. And when you dance, you can't dance unless you bring your energy back to your body. So that sets up the opportunity to then be reconnected to the guiding source. So to answer your question, do you feel expansion or do you feel contraction? Does it, and even if it's a caution, let's say, for example, you meet someone, you have a wonderful experience, and you're going to have a potential business partnership. They say all the right things, they look beautiful, the ideas are perfect, your mind and your emotions are very excited, and yet you go away and just some physical part of you is not 100%. It just feels it just feels tense. The minute you acknowledge it, right, this is there. I need to acknowledge it. So this takes me to the next piece. You're not going to get clear on your intuition if you sit and roll it around your head. You actually need to come back to your body and speak out what you say. This is what my head says. This is what my heart says. So rather than explain this, let's do it. Let's actually do it. Want to do it so everybody can see what I'm talking about?
Yes. I thought right now. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it now.
It's good to show people. Okay, so do you have any area of your life where you would like a little more intuitive insight that you care to share with everybody on the call? Doesn't have to be life and death. It could just be anything practical, anything that you wish you had some more insight.
Yeah, actually, so one of the next products that we are working on, we shifted the whole LifePlugin online strategy because of the COVID situation, and we had to cancel our physical events. So we accelerated our online engine way more. So I'm recording the signature LifePlugin subconscious programming session, which we need to launch, which we're thinking about launching sometime between May and June. And what I'm wondering is that do we, because our idea was to film with like high production quality cameras, like in a really nice location, but naturally those liberties, I don't know when I will get them. So one of the things I'm thinking is, should we record it at home? Because I don't want to redo the program later. So that's the yes or no question that's happening in my head. So do we do with the home equipment, the best equipment we can get, and record it and put it out there by May? Or should we wait until like a high-end technology?
Of all, I would like to say you use the right word. To access intuition, the front door word is wonder. I wonder. Very different than I'm trying to figure out. Figure out is going through your intellect. Wonder is opening to some guidance or inspiration. So it's a completely different availability when you wonder. So excellent. Now let's do a little practice. So it just very quickly, answer the question quickly. My intellect says,
My intellect says,
according to, answer your own question. My intellect says, quickly.
my intellect says, do it now.
My intellect says,
I repeat it again.
I'm going to run through the question, just repeat whatever comes
The
up when
answer.
I ask the
Got it.
question. We're going to start pulling things out.
Okay.
My
So
intellect
my intellect says, do it at home.
My intellect says,
Do it at home.
take a breath, open your eyes, because when you open your eyes, you come back to your body. Open your eyes, come into your heart, look around the room, and my inner guidance says,
do it at home.
yeah. Now see what you did this time, which is different. And this is a fun thing about intuition. First time, the second time you said, do it at home from the head. The third time you said, do it at home, you smiled. And when you tap into intuition, you automatically smile. That is another indication that you're tapping into deeper wisdom. Your heart opens and your body smiles. Always.
Right.
So how does it feel when you went to your intuition?
Question. Yes.
Before we go, how did it feel when I asked you on that deeper level?
Yes. I think the smile came because I was paying more attention to how it feels in my body, because I've naturally dedicated a good deal of time and discussions with advisors as well, what should be done given this stage of time. So it's, the decision is there, but the question that is conflicting is that I will have to do it again in like 6 months to a year, which is something I was
so let me ask
going
you
back
something.
and forth with.
This is how the head works. It's a constant loop of options, constantly can never let you settle down and relax. When you said do it at home in your heart, those questions stopped. There was a moment where it just was like putting the key in the lock and boom. You jumped back to your head. But if you stayed in your heart, just stay there for a minute. Just stay in that heart space. My heart says, my guidance says. Ask another question. Do you have to redo it in 6 months?
Yeah, I know the answer now, Sonia.
There you're smiling again.
Yeah. No, this is, yeah, makes sense.
But here's what I want you to share. Did you experience a different type of feeling in your body?
I think given this context, also having this conversation with you and re-saying the answer externally, it was a sense of, call it expansion or not contraction, which I would feel when I would think about this in the past. That's the subtle difference that if I can say that I notice.
The other thing, and you're learning, this is what we're learning to do when we listen to intuition. The other thing to notice is when you answer from intuition, there's a second question to ask, and it's a good one. So the first question I ask is, my heart says, do it at home. And here's the second question, everybody. Not is it right, but is it true? The question is that true?
Which part is true? Like my answer?
Yeah,
or
your answer. Does that feel true? Does that feel true?
Yes.
See?
Okay, now this
the whole body. So you don't say, is this right? The mind will go around. You can spend months, years, your lifetime trying to get it right. The intellect is always trying to avoid mistakes and pain. Always. So it'll always come up with another option, I need another opinion. I need another discussion. Okay, fine. It's not that you shouldn't have those, but after all that, you go to the heart space. You ask your wisdom inside, your inner teacher. You're not asking some random, you're asking your inner wisdom. Is this what do you feel? What do you feel, not think? And B, once you answer, does that feel true? Those are your two techniques. Always works. And then
That's amazing.
you can choose from there, but at least you got your answer. So
Perfect.
practice. You have to practice. People live in their heads, and I call that a bad neighborhood. It's a bad neighborhood. You can never relax. You're always got to check and see what's coming and going. But when you're in your heart, you're home. You're safe. You're peaceful. You get clear direction. We just have to change our attitude and give it a try, because it works.
Thank you. This is,
thank
I'm
you
also
for being a guinea pig on that.
Yes. Yeah. Now I just realized there's a different kind of nervousness now, because there's still like we're halfway into the interview, and now I will be the guinea pig for the rest of the call. So I'm just thinking, oh, how does that feel? But I think this is so. No, I'm gonna add these questions by the end of it, or maybe I'll come back to it, because I can already see people asking what are the questions, and I know they're we can give them in a well-documented form so that people can take this exercise home when they watch this video later.
Okay.
But this is super good. Thank you. And by the end of this call, what we want to get to is that because not everybody will be privileged to have access to your work, especially working one-to-one with you. But by the end of the call, our objective or hope is that people can have a practice that they can do it on their own. And this is a step towards that already. So I'm really grateful for that. And I had a question. I wanted to know, because I think you've been doing it for 35 years. And when I was reading all the incredible things you've done, one of the things that blew my mind was you have done a PhD in metaphysics. I didn't even know that existed. And it's like, wow, I think your story is fascinating. And we've only seen it in like a speaker bio format, or just I have heard your personal side of story, but never in this context. So I'm really curious, how did you get into this? And what's your journey with this whole field of work?
Good question. Well, I grew up in a family where intuition was considered the most important sense of all. It was unusual in that regard, that my mother set the tone, because she was a war refugee during the Holocaust, and she lost her family when she was 12 years old, and her hearing. So what kept her alive was her inner guidance. That something that she got married at 15. She came to America, had 7 children, but that inner resources was her lifeline. So that's what she taught us as her children, to listen to your inner guidance, because it will tell you the truth, not right or wrong, to follow someone else's version, but your truth for yourself. So from that time, I learned to listen to energy over listening to words and opinion of other people. That was secondary, primary. So I was not put in a patriarchal education system where I had to continually please and defer to outside authorities. I was empowered as a child to listen to myself. From there, I began working with master teachers. I had 2 master teachers for 9 years, one in the intuitive arts, Charlie Goodman, and one in metaphysical science, Dr. Trenton Tully. And I went to them 3 times a week for one-on-one apprentices for almost 10 years. And then they both subsequently died. From there, I moved to France, which is what brings me to Paris. And I went to the Sorbonne, where I got my undergraduate degree in right brain learning and religious studies, because I knew that I had to find a path to legitimize intuition, and it wasn't going to come through the psychological path. The psychological path didn't at that time even acknowledge the validity of the soul. That's changing, but it's been a minute since I was there. So from there, I went on and kept looking for other international resources of inquiry around the development of the inner senses. And so I found the American Institute of Holistic Theology, which was a pioneer academic group, which focused primarily on the development of the soul, the inner senses, the right brain, left brain learning. And I got my master's and PhD there. And my thesis was on developing intuition in children at home, like it happened to me, because that's the best place to start. So along the way, when I was 15, I taught my first workshop. It was in my home. I had 3 people. And from there, it just kept evolving. Eventually, in a home workshop, I taught a woman who came named Julia Cameron. She's a very famous woman who wrote a book, The Artist's Way. It's been published around the world, millions of copies. She took my class. She asked me to write out my class. I wrote it out. She took it to her publisher, and they immediately picked it up as my first book, The Psychic Pathway. And then from there, I've written 27 other books in 37 languages and started teaching outside of my home and started lecturing around the world, and have been going ever since. So that's sort of the quick scenario of how I got to be. But on the soul level, I believe it was always my soul intention. I never struggled. It was always just the thing to do.
Wow, that's beautiful. I think the honor of hearing that, because I know that I'm speaking to someone who is at the cutting edge of the world, and to listen to this story this is the only way this story should make sense. And so thank you for sharing that. One thing that did pop in my mind.
I just want to add one thing. At no point was any part of my life path a big intellectual plan. It was always an inner guided response, and I have lived that, and I have taught that since I was 15. So I have evidence. I have helped probably 100 people launch careers in publishing. I have probably helped thousands launch businesses, maybe even hundreds of thousands, because I've touched so many people based on the guidance I'm giving, and they've succeeded. So these are not anecdotal ideals. These are principles that have actually worked in people's lives. And so that's why I have such passion and conviction. We can ultimately trust ourselves. And that's my message, that education in traditional schools don't tell you. They do not tell you that. They tell you to trust the outside. I tell you, trust the inside. Learn from the outside, trust the inside.
I have okay, I want to know your perspective on this. Do you think the left brain rational thinking process, or intellectualizing everything, is this not man, but like, is this a masculine trait? Is this a masculine energy, or do you attribute it towards masculine or feminine, or no?
I believe that here's how I feel. Actually, Einstein said it best. He said the human spirit is our sacred gift, and the rational mind, its faithful servant. So the rational mind, in right relationship to the spirit, serves the spirit, supports the inner guidance, but our system has taught it to attack our spirit, to attack and doubt, because our education and our culture has been so patriarchal, which means the authority is outside. And so the rational mind is neither masculine or feminine. It's more trying to be the boss when it's actually the servant. And if we can use the rational mind to gather support and follow the spirit, it's a beautiful relationship. But if we only follow the rational mind, it's mostly the opinions of other people. And how good are those opinions? Are they fact? Are they infallible? Never. Even what science is telling us is changing every week. So the rational mind organizes and supports the spirit in an ideal situation. And that's why we need it. If your spirit says start a business, your rational mind should say, yes, I will, and I will now organize to make that happen. The wrong use is your spirit says, your inner guidance is start a business, and your rational mind says, that's ridiculous, you'll fail, who do you think you are? You have no skills, no right. Then it's attacking. So we need to make peace with these two, but put them in the right relationship. Let your rational mind be the best friend of your inner guidance, and you will have a magical life. Let your rational mind attack your inner guidance, and you will have a frustrated, unfulfilled experience, guaranteed.
You just answered something that I didn't even ask properly so beautifully. Thank you so much. Before we go into the practice, which we are about to, I think some people have mentioned there's a connection issue. So all the participants, if you can turn off your video, that may just help for us to facilitate the call. So if you're on the call attending, it would be helpful if you can turn off the video so there's less load on the call. Let's see if that works. It's a hypothesis. Okay,
Let's hope.
Sonia, I think we are collecting questions, and this class is full right now. So there's more people coming in, but they're in the waiting list. Too bad for them. So now we can go into the practice. But just one last question, if I'll ask you, if you allow me, one last question is that I see there's when I would look up at intuition or the proof of intuition, and I see like the global leaders talking about it. Einstein has talked a lot about it. Richard Branson has, Steve Jobs. Any leading authority, you can, if you want to look for it, you'll find it. That's what I believe. But how do you explain it to someone who's a bit left-brain, scientific-minded person? How do you talk about intuition in a way that doesn't? Well, I think you can, but like, how can we talk about it?
Here's the answer. I explain intuition like this. Your left brain is like an AM radio. It has a limited bandwidth, and it doesn't have the capacity to make subtle connections. It doesn't. It's a one-way street. Your intuition is like satellite. It's like the internet. So how do you tell a left brain, how do you tell a radio that the internet exists? Because the left brain exclusively can't comprehend, it will deny the existence of the internet. My rationale is don't bother. Don't bother convincing the unconvincible. If and when you're ready to incorporate intuition into your life, you will begin, like you said, finding the evidence. If you're not receptive, no amount of evidence you give that person will make a lick of difference, and you waste your time. So here's the thing that's important. What makes us want to convince the scientist, what makes us feel motivated to make sure that non-believer has an epiphany, is that we're still looking for permission from someone else to be our own boss. My attitude instead is to say, I'll never explain it adequately to you, however, it works for me. That's the end of the conversation. That way, don't get them wrong.
This is exactly what I was looking for.
Yourself. No matter what, I get that you don't get it. I'm okay with that. It works for me, period.
Right.
And then nobody's right or wrong, and you get to live and lead your life according to your own wisdom and not be limited. So I find any conversation to someone who's not ready to hear it an utter waste of time.
Okay. Part of this question comes from the place that I'm running a company that brings in different transformational practices to an audience, right? And then part of it, a lot of my friends that are people that I really, really care about in this world, I love them and I adore them, and I want to bring all these practices that I believe in to them. Right? And the best way to teach someone is by being the proof. That's what I believe. If you're living it, then they will come to you.
Here's one more thing, and this is true. There was a study done quite a few years ago in the Harvard Business Review. They asked 100 top CEOs around the world at the top of their game the secret to their success. All 100, everyone said, the secret to my success is I follow my intuition. However, I don't necessarily tell other people that's the case. I just let it, I don't argue it. Then they did another study where they asked again, 10 years later, what's the secret of your intuition? And they said, or what's the secret to your success? And they said, as a leader, I follow my intuition. Leaders do, managers don't. If you're a leader, you're going to follow your intuition. If you're a manager, you don't trust it. So I, like I even say on my website, I teach leaders. I teach people to lead their life, not manage other people's expectations.
Beautiful.
We just can't make someone more available than they are. So I hope that helps.
Yes, it helps me. You have I have spent enough time with you personally to have these things absorbed in my head very, very strongly. But I'm just trying to ask all the questions, even if they are like misaligned with me personally, but if it could add value to anyone who's listening, I want to send this video to my family after. Yeah. So if they could get some value from it, that would be wonderful. But right now,
Gautam, I don't believe in the over 50 years I have been teaching, have I ever met any human who has not had a direct personal experience with inner guidance. That's not the issue. The issue is the choice you make about that guidance. Do you listen and respect it, or do you ignore it and let other people live your life and tell you what to do?
That's very good.
I have
That's a very good point.
Never, and ask people, have you never had an inner thought, guidance, impulse that made no logical sense? I ask people all the time. I ask heads of corporations, I ask kids on the street, I ask everybody, and I have never heard no. So it's not do you get the guidance, it's do you value the guidance?
Okay, you hit it home for me now. Thank you.
I'm happy to answer any question because these are the questions that come up, but here's what I ultimately want to say. If you want to live an intuitive life and be empowered in the highest possible way that you are naturally designed to be, the permission to listen to your intuition comes from you, not anyone else. And anybody who assumes to have the authority to decide for you what to listen to is not your friend. They may have good intentions, but they're taking your power away. The second thing, when you listen to your intuition, the bigger threat is the full responsibility for yourself. Because when you say, I'm going with my guidance, the buck stops here. But that's leadership. And the reward is phenomenal. But you have to be willing to take the responsibility along with the guidance. They go hand in hand. So the way I teach is you start playfully until you build your sea legs, until you find your confidence. You don't start with the most threatening thing, start with the least threatening thing until you have enough experience that you do trust yourself. Because ultimately, intuition is trusting the divine self in you, which is alive and well and wants to guide you if you agree.
Thank you. This was perfect. There's like so many quotes that I can take from all that you've said in the last 10 minutes. That's what's going on in my head. It's really, really profound. I'm so glad that you're adding so much value. And I want to be mindful of your time because you said 1 hour. I don't want it to bleed over if you don't have the time. So we can move into the exercise bit as well right now.
Do we do some tools to teach people how to get going?
Yes, let's do it.
So now I'm going to be talking directly to your students. There are 4 decisions you need to make to open up to your intuition, which is the spirit in you. The spirit in you is the power that makes your heart beat. It's the breath in your body. It's the life force. When that heartbeat stops and the breath leaves, you're gone. Then it's just bones and blood, but there is no you in there anymore. So it's that spirit that is your guide. So the first thing is you have to make the decision to be open. This is change of attitude. To be open that I have a life force in me that is divine and it is my power, it's my guidance, and it is reliable. I can definitely feel this energy and it gives me consciousness. It gives me the ability to make any choice. So the first step is be open to your inner guidance. Simple way to do that, I like to teach simply, is not just to think of my spirit, but to actually give your spirit a name. And when you give your spirit a name, the saying goes, when you name it, you claim it. So I will recognize an expanded divine part of me that's better and more informed than my personality. And so I'm going to call that spirit a certain name. Now, Carl Jung, who was a great therapist in beginning of the 20th century, he named his spirit Philomen. And Conrad Hilton would go and talk to his spirit in the dark, and he would get all his guidance on how to build the Hilton hotel chain. Name your spirit is a really fun way to make the shift. My spirit's name is Bright Light. Whenever I want intuitive guidance, I don't go to my head and say, Sonia, what do you think? I say, Bright Light, what is your guidance?
Mm-hmm.
So this is so fun, but this is how the subconscious mind learns. It learns with metaphor. It learns with games. It learns with symbols. So step one, recognize and be open to your spirit and give it a name so you can start having a conversation. Step two, guidance only comes when you're genuinely open. Do not ask for intuitive guidance if you're not really available to it. This is the biggest block. What people consider asking for guidance is really just wanting their spirit to agree with them or agree with what they've heard. Don't say, should I marry this person, when deep down inside you've already decided and you don't want to hear. So you have to be genuinely available to new information. New information. That's the key. Maybe it affirms what you know, but maybe it doesn't. Step three, give yourself permission to not listen to it, but at least hear it. So I want the new information. I'm not going to censor that, but I have a choice. I can listen or not listen. And that gives you the ability to be more available. The biggest reason people don't listen to their intuition is because they're very willful and they've already made up their mind. They don't want to change their course but intuition will always give you new information, therefore would ask you possibly to change direction. For example, my education says go to school, become a doctor. My intuition says go into acting and be a performer. Okay, so it might be uncomfortable to listen to my intuition, and I may have to reject what I've been trained. So then the next step is, am I willing to be courageous enough to listen? Am I willing to deal with the discomfort of disappointing others and listen? Because it inevitably, at least, now here's the thing, initially you might disappoint others and then you condition them to expect it from you, and then they'll stop giving you trouble. You have to teach them that I'm going to go with my own system. So you'll only have the discomfort for a little while. It's not going to be the rest of their life. So you just have to see it as going through gates of personal authority. And the next thing is, intuition doesn't work in linear time. Intuition only works in its own time. So you're not going to necessarily always get an immediate answer. You might be told, for example, I'll give you an example. Then in 2008, which was like another version of this pandemic, the world melted down economically.
Mm-hmm.
I had a client who was given the option to have a startup company in Silicon Valley, $1 million salary, and she was so excited to go, but her intuition said no. Everyone was furious with her because this was a dream job and a dream company at a dream time. She said, I don't know. It is perfect on paper, but my body, my heart says no. So she turned it down and took a lot of heat for this. She took a lot of judgment, a lot of heat. Okay, she turns it down, and the collapse of Silicon Valley happened 4 months later. Had she taken the job, she would have completely bankrupted her life. She would have and so she was, but it took 4 months, is my point. So sometimes you just have to sit with that discomfort. So the best way to do it is to be playful. Don't be right or wrong, or you're going to get very heavy and defensive. You say, it works for me. It works for me. Yes, I know I'm a weirdo. Yes, I know I look crazy. Yes, I know. You don't fight it, you agree. Yes, I know this is insane, but it works for me. But you just always keep bringing it back to you. No, I can't explain it. It works for me. I have to live with myself. I'm willing to do that. So those are the parameters. You have to be open. You have to ask questions you're genuinely available to. You have to be willing to be criticized, but you don't have to be defensive. Just be playful and just say, well, it works for me. And yeah, I know I look crazy. I'm okay with that. Still works for me. That way you don't get in a fight. And then next thing, when you ask your spirit for guidance, don't think it, answer out loud. The intuition comes from the heart. The chimney of the heart is the throat. The expression of the heart is the voice. So it's not dropping down from the head, it's coming up from the heart. So you walk with your questions, and you do what I did with you. First, name all your objections, all your intellectual thoughts. You don't want to fight them. You just acknowledge and set them aside. Then you go the question 5, 6 times. What does my heart say? What does my guidance say? What does my spirit say? That's the best. And you name it out loud. Then you can choose or not choose to listen or not listen. Don't make them one and the same. You can hear what your guidance says. You still have to give yourself a choice. Give yourself a choice. So people push those together, and that's why they don't want to hear. Like, okay, because even if you don't listen, within a very short period of time, you'll have reason to think about that twice in the future. I didn't listen. I should have. I blew it, but I did say it. So next time, I'll make a different choice.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So you don't have to go into a deep meditative trance-like state. You just have to learn to flip the channels. My head says, my heart says, my personality says, my spirit says. You're just flipping from head to heart, and you're training yourself enough to go into your heart. Now I'm going to give you a physical technique to get to your heart very quickly. Okay. And this is something that works every time. This is what I would call instant meditation. So the first thing you do is you look around the room and you notice 1, 2, 3 things right in front of you. The reason you do this is because it gets you out of your head, brings you back to your body. And you notice them like not drive by, but there's the chair, there's the computer. You even think, how heavy would that be? How heavy is that chair? There's the cushion. 2 or 3 things brings you back to the present moment. So that's one of the objectives of meditation. So that's a quick way to do it. Next, Take a breath in through the nose. Shift your awareness to your physical body. Put your tongue on the roof of your mouth and exhale like you're blowing out candles. 3 times. Breathe in again slowly. And with it, you're emptying the energy you're holding on to. The tongue on the roof of your mouth quiets the brain. A 3rd time and empty. 4th breath in, slowly. Open the jaw until you hear a click in your ear. And then say, ah. You're right in your heart space. Listen to your brain. It's quiet. And then smile. So now you are in, the difference between the brain and the intuition is the brain is talking and the intuition is listening. So now you're in the listening state. Ah. When you smile, you open the curtains of the heart. And then you say to your spirit, my guidance says, what do you say, spirit? What do you say? And that part of you, then you speak out loud. Simple technique, but to quiet the brain with these breaths, puts you where you belong. It puts you at the place where you're in your heart at the top of your solar plexus. This is where personal will and divine will meet. It's a listening state. The brain is quiet. You're open. Then you don't look for words, look for feelings. Don't look for words, look for feelings. Words go up your head. The minute you're in your head, your eyes go up. So that's why you stay present and looking at something in front of you, because it keeps you from racing back to your intellect. My heart says. So for example, we're in a pandemic. I've done this, looking at the heart. My heart says, my guidance says that this is an incredibly compassionate intervention from the divine forces that have overseen our planet, because we humans have become so disconnected from our bodies that we have lost touch with our humanity and our connection to one another and the earth. Therefore, we were driving ourselves like a bus off the cliff. We were about ready to blow ourselves up. This intervention has put us all back in our homes, in our bodies, ideally in our hearts. Eventually, we have to go where we belong anyway. And without all that disturbance and distraction, we begin to feel again, which is the source of guidance. When we begin to feel, we slow down, begin to take a different approach to life. We reorganize our priorities, and our hearts begin to open, and the planet begins to heal. It's happening. It's happening. You don't have to trust me. It's happening. What a beautiful and elegant way to make it happen so quickly, because literally it's been 2 months to change the entire globe. Everybody should sit and ask with these same techniques. 3 breaths, and then what I call the down the slide. 3 exhales, down the slide. Ask your spirit, what can I learn from this? What do I need to shift? What is my contribution, and what creativity in me have I abandoned that needs to come back? And then answer those questions out loud. If you truly want to know, and you can stop talking and be a know-it-all and listen to your higher self, you will get profound guidance, and you'll feel it. Your body will relax. And that is guaranteed. Guaranteed. But you have to come in with this attitude that my divine self can guide me, that there are loving forces available to me, and I have to humble my intellect because it's not the boss. My intellect has to learn to support my spirit. So I call your intellect your barking dog. So you don't shoot the dog, you train the dog. to obey the
Mm.
spirit. And you train the dog by continuing to do this over and over. And you tell your intellect, listen and learn, listen and learn. So this is just a super quick couple of tools. But the truth is, you really don't need more than this, because this is natural. Doesn't have to be a layered, complicated process. It's like turning the light back on that's on the wall. Just turn it on. It works. Don't fumble in the dark, but be smart enough to know I have a light in my heart that can guide me. And give it a name, get in your body, empty the garbage, which is my head says, my head says. Listen to your feelings, name them out loud, and then decide if you're going to listen. You decide. So there's my quick little class.
This is amazing. You know, one of the things which I wrote in the beginning of the class, I was writing, right? What are my experiences with intuition? And one of them is that every time I'd really have a big decision to make, or I'm struggling with, I would just go on a walk alone. Every single time, it's like my walk with the universe, and it includes movement. It includes, I'm literally, as a weirdo, speaking to myself out loud. Hopefully people not seeing, but it's on the road. And then so many times I've had like some of the greatest ideas, including the idea of launching LifePlugin, came out like that. Right.
Yes.
So to me, it's just a confirmation and giving structure the way you defined it in the last 5 to 6 steps. We will come back to it and put it in a documentation form so we can share it with everyone, because this is beautiful.
And what I want to say is the movement is important. The first movement is breath. Go 3 exhales and then down the slide. And then you move home to the heart space. Walking is excellent, speaking out loud. But mostly I want you to know, first get the information and then you have a choice to listen or not. But pay attention to your body, because when you listen to your intuition, you always have a light in your eyes and you always smile. Always. Every human on the planet, always, just like the one you have right now. It's natural. It's the heart lighting up. It's the inner guidance. It's like the inner light of our heart. It makes us smile. So there's some, let's not make it more complicated. It's unnecessary.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonia. Well, my intellect is trying to make it complicated so that people can get it. I'm going to listen to it this time. But for me personally, the practice has been super meaningful. One of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with you is because this time is the perfect opportunity to go inwards, right? We're spending so much time at home, and like I have personally been completely away from certain distractions that I would normally engage in. And what I found is different distractions to replace them with from time to time. But this is also a great opportunity to have different wellness practices as distractions to engage in, if I want to call them that. And I think this is such a valuable practice that we can start doing from today. So thank you so much. What I want to do is, I think we've already crossed the 1 hour mark. What I will do is Wendy, as a host, she's just curating all the questions because a lot of them have been answered while they were being asked through the call.
Wonderful.
So we'll just take like top 1 to 2 questions. Is that okay?
Yes.
Let me just look at the document where she is organizing it. Okay. I think we've answered all of them.
Yay! I tried
I'm just trying to, yeah, I mean, you have answered all of them. Well, what I will do is we'll have this opportunity to come back to this recording. I'll reshare the recording with everyone. We'll take as many notes. People have been sharing notes on the class as well, on the chat as well, and we'll make our own notes. I have my own from this class, so thank you so much.
And you know what? I have 27 books, and I do believe, and I actually think they're published in India. They are.
This is the question that I have now for you. Like the best resource based on the conversation that we just had, and people who want to learn more, engage with you more, what would be the best
I would say one
direction?
book. I would say 2 books. My 2 top books, Trust Your Vibes and Ask Your Guide.
Okay,
Those
Ask
two.
Your Guides. I have an experience with that, so I love that for sure.
Yes, those are the 2. And the instructions are there. And so if they just go in that direction, they will get many questions answered, and they can find tools they can use at home and get this. It's like you're hardwired to do this. So you're hardwired for this shift, and this is what everybody's sent home to learn. Go home and get reconnected to your source guidance, and then everything will be okay. So that's
Perfect.
my recommendation.
Thank you, Sonia. So Trust Your Vibes, Ask Your Guides. Is Ask Your Guides connected to the cards that you've created, or is it a?
Yes, and I have cards for both. I have a Trust Your Vibes deck, which is very specific and helpful, and Ask Your Guides. And I have online courses that are in depth on my site too, if they want to work a little bit further. But that's all you need. Trust Your Vibes, Ask Your Guides. That's all you need.
Okay, amazing. So we'll share these links. And by the way, everyone who's on the call, I had experience of Ask Your Guides cards with Sonia a few times. And then we took those cards and we did it, our LifePlugin adventure in Bali. We had a big high-end event there, and we used those cards there, and they have been scarily accurate for every single person, every single time they use those cards. It's mind-blowing. So do check that one out for sure.
They work. They're direct connection. So yay, I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. Yes. So Sonia, on behalf of LifePlugin, thank you so much. I genuinely want to thank you're incredible with your knowledge and your wisdom. That's true. But one thing I appreciate so much more is the humility that you come from. And this is, I long to learn from teachers who teach it as you share it as a gift to everyone. And this is such a pleasure to experience. Thank you so much for giving us this time.
It was my honor to be with all of you, and I wish you peace. Don't have fear. Everything's going to be okay. On my left.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, right. Bye everybody.
Okay, so we'll close the meeting now. Guys, thank you so much for joining. What's about to come, we'll share all the notes with you as soon as we can on the Facebook event. If you've registered as a subscriber, or if you're part of our customers and part of our LifePlugin tribe group. So we'll share that. And if you like such conversations with such remarkable teachers, next week, next Wednesday, April 15th, we are bringing in Eric Edmeades. If you don't know who Eric Edmeades is, you've got to look him up today. Go check out any of his videos. He's one of the best speakers in the world. He's trained with Tony Robbins for 3 years. He's been a big Mind Valley author. And I think in my life, the teacher that disproportionately changed my life more than any other teacher, it's Eric Edmeades. And he's going to be having a conversation with us similar to this. So if you guys are keen, we'll give you the notification wherever you've signed up, so you can join for the next class as well. And until that time, thank you so much for joining. Have an amazing weekend. Bye.